Welcome back on the program. My second guest this morning is the Deputy Chairman, Lagos State Councillors Forum, and also the leader of Isolo Council LCDA. I'm talking about Honorable Remy Shittu. Many thanks for joining us on the program this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Today is APC National Convention. I just had Mike, first guest on the program this morning, saying that APC is not a united party. Do you also share in this belief?
Of course, APC is a united party, and even in every family, in every tribe, everywhere you go to in the world, there are always issues. We always disagree to agree. So for me, APC is a united party, even though there are issues, but they will always be resolved.
Okay, now what do you make of today's national convention? Well, I raised a question on this program that is this a coronation or a convention?
Of course, a convention. It is a convention, not a coronation.
On what yardstick are you speaking from?
Now, there are two ways by which candidates can emerge, either through consensus or where there are disagreements, you allow them to vote or to be elected into offices. But then, now we have offices like the office of the national chairman, that the consensus was reached, and then other offices that are going to be contested. So for me, it's a convention. The fact that a consensus was reached doesn't make it less of a convention. It's still a convention.
What do you make of the various agitations, the various issues of talking about the NPDP in your party? Well, do you see these people coming from Alaji Kaubaraji not disrupting or causing any walkouts in this convention?
Well, like I said, in the convention, some positions have been agreed to be, you know, the position has been agreed to be given to one or two people by means of a consensus reached after so many disagreements before an agreement was reached. But then the NPDP, whatever the agreement is going to be, I'm sure the leadership of the party will be able to sit and iron things out. I'm very certain about that. So there's bound to be issues, challenges, but then to be resolved.
Has your party fulfilled all the campaign promises?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, we have fulfilled at least 70% of it.
Really?
And then I'm sure more are still in the pipeline. We're talking about the security of the country. We've done a lot about that. The economy, it's getting better daily.
We have to be joined by our correspondent, Osaiti Osadebahe, who is alive at the APC National Convention at the Eagle Square. When we get through to him, able to tell us more events happening at that particular ground. But at the moment, I still have Remy Shittu in the house. He's an APC stalwart, Deputy Chairman, Lagos State Councillors Forum. Now, in all of this, talking about this national convention, what if a reverse is the case and you see what transpired at the first gathering of the APC in Ekiti? You saw that particular one that was disrupted by hoodlums. Do you feel that security wise your party has been able to put things in place?
Thank you very much. That was why I mentioned to you that I even prefer consensus. Consensus means that there has been arguments, disagreements by leadership of the party before. So all this you are saying would have happened while they were trying to reach a consensus. That is why consensus is always good.
Not a unity list.
So what were the example you just cited, that's to do with people coming to contest. So you expect in Nigeria we are here to come to terms, to develop this thing we call spirit of sportsmanship. When someone loses and they congratulates the other person and move on and choose to work together and avoid these do or die things. That is what leads to a rancor. But where a consensus is reached, I'm of the opinion for consensus candidates. But then, according to the constitution, consensus means if the leadership of the party comes together and a candidate is being agreed upon for a particular position, and only one single person says no then you have to go for election. That's what the constitution says. But then it's better when a constitution is reached so that to avoid bloodshed in all this fight and, uh, and what have you.
Are you saying we're not going to see the case of unity list last week, as we saw in the PDP? We were here live in the studio and we saw the list being even on the social media. Are you saying we're not going to see that in this particular convention?
I'm still going to maintain the same thing I've been saying. Where there was no consensus reached, there are bound to be issues. Every issue that will have come up will have been argued upon. Before now, you know, you think somebody will just mention Adam social model and everybody will agree? No. There will have been arguments, there will have been issues, and all that has been long put behind, and then we're moving forward. So I want to believe this convention is coming out each free.
Can Adams Oshiomhole fit into the shoes of the national chairman
Very well.
of the APC?
Very well, because he's held positions in that capacity in time past. This is a former labor union president, which also means the whole of the country. And he's been governor for 8 years. He's held positions that can justify him. I believe, I have confidence in that he's going to perform. I believe in experience counts. So he has the experience. I believe in him.
Let's try to open the phone lines to get the pulse of Nigerians on what is their expectations of this APC National Convention all day today at the Eagle Square. And let me let you know that you don't have the right to cast any aspersion on anyone. Make your comments as plain as possible. Do not make any hate speech. Well, if you do, we have the right to do the needful. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Reduce the audio of your TV set so that we can have that smooth communication on the program this morning. Well, your party came into power with the 3 cardinal points. I'm talking about tackling the issue of insecurity, war against corruption, and revamping the economy. Well, how will you give the rate in all of this fight? Let's start with the anti-corruption fight of this present administration. What's the assessment so far?
Well, my assessment so far about the anti-corruption, I want to give kudos to the president. This is the most difficult fight any human being, most especially in this part of the world, can engage in. I'm talking of an issue that has been on ground way back before we got independent in 1960. And somebody is coming, wants to try and eradicate what we call corruption. It's going to be difficult because that thing we call corruption has eaten deep into many Nigerians. Directly or indirectly, 90% of all Nigerians, they benefited from this thing we call corruption. Either your uncle is somewhere placed, or your sugar daddy, your boyfriend, it cuts across. So for this man to stand up, I think what Nigeria owes him is support and prayer. Because what we call corruption is the real killer of this nation. Once it's been able to tackle, it may not be able to do it 100%, but at least if it is reduced to the barest minimum, because there's corruption everywhere in the world, but it's been able to reduce to the barest minimum, then I believe the country.
Some will say that the fight is selective, but before now, let's quickly join Bob. Bob is calling us from Jos. Many thanks for joining us on the program this morning. Hello, Bob. Can you please reduce the audio of your TV set so that we can have that smooth communication?
I've done that.
Okay, go on with your comment, please.
I've done that. So how are you, ma?
Thank you very much. Go on with the comment, please.
As regards APC National Convention, we wish them good luck, in all their doings, and we hope that they will prove themselves. I'm not in a negative way. I think they should do it right. As their name bears change, I think we should see a good change. So that is on that aspect. We wish them good luck. So regarding the issue you were discussing before I came in or called in concerning I would say, well, a good thing. But the only thing is that it's one-sided. You understand me? Fresh issues that is under President Buhari's administration. Fresh issues, fresh accusation, allegation. He is not handling it, especially the one that concerns the secretary to his government. This is a man that was alleged that he used so million to cut
Okay.
grass.
It's just 1 minute. Thank you very much, Bob from Jos. You've made your comment. Thank you very much. Back to the issue of anti-corruption fight. You had the guest, our caller there saying he's been selective, and that's the premise I'm coming from. What's your take on this?
Okay, now it's very easy for anybody to have concluded that the fight against corruption has been selective. Now, for 16 years of democracy, we've had a particular party at the national level, talking about the PDP. So it's clear that if the incoming, administration is going to begin to tackle, then it will be most of these people that were there before. I'm not disputing that some of them have crossed over to another political party, but then let's stop this attitude. For me, it doesn't sound well when we say there are 10 thieves that went to rob a bank, and then maybe the police has arrested 3. So we should be pushing for the other 7 to be arrested, and not telling the government to release the 3, since you have not caught the whole 10, you have not arrested the whole 10 thieves.
Just a moment. We have Abubakar. Abubakar is calling us from Abuja. Man, thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
I want to thank you for this program. I'm one of your listeners every day. I listen and thanks for the time to get your questions. Please, I know that you people say that we should not talk about the people that are your guests there, but I'm not here to say I get anybody, but just give you people an advice. There are people you bring here that are always talking. You know, if you are even saying it this morning, like this man that's left, they are always talking about sections because their own part they always press. Because the other side they always malign. Like issue of APCPD, I think that you bring people that can talk. Once somebody does something wrong, he says it. If he does the right thing, he prays it. I think it's better.
Okay, what's your take on the APC National Convention holding today?
I said that I am praying for them to have a peaceful convention. This for Nigeria. As of now, Buhari is the president of Nigeria. I will have to pray for him to succeed, not to be malign and say all sorts of things. People always malign without giving advice. The people in the advice, please tell them, once you say this is bad, let them also offer how it will be done to be good. Rather, always castigating the government. Anything about the government, they say it doesn't mean like the man that took place. He has never been into good in this government. I want Angola and other 2 people that he calls that he always call. And there is no any man from the north that can say something in this television. Always you invite people from. I don't want to be.
Okay, thank you very much, Abubakar. Thank you very much, Abubakar from Abuja. Okay, now back to all this issue of anti-corruption fight, the issue of insecurity, and that of the economy. In all of this, you say that your party has done well.
Yeah, we've done well, at least to a large extent, like the one of the corruption we're talking about. I just told you that if, for instance, 10 armed robbers went to the bank and they all escaped, and in the process of trying to arrest, you only to arrest 3 or 4. The best thing I expect the people to be agitating for is to push to arrest the other 6, and not for you to be saying, okay, release 4 because you've not arrested the whole 10. So it's very unfortunate when people say when people begin to celebrate armed robbers and criminals. We should agitate. We should push for the for the federal government even to arrest more people. You get it. So
all right. Now today is the APC National Convention. About 5,000 police personnel have been deployed to Abuja concerning this one, and 2 helicopters. When we say, when we have security challenges in other states, why about 5,000 police personnel deployed to the Eagle Square in Abuja? But before that, let's quickly take Umar. Umar is calling us from Niger. Many thanks for joining us on the program this morning. Good morning, Umar.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Go on with your comment, please.
Okay, my is we here in Nigeria, we are not sincere. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go on. Okay, we lost our connection with Umar there. Now, back to the question. 5,000 police personnel, 2 helicopters to the Eagle Square because of this convention.
Well, I understand what you're trying to say. Well, we are getting there. I don't expect that much to have been, deployed. If, insecurity was going to be tackled in other places like you're trying to allege. But then, for peace to reign, it is better we deploy as many as possible than for us to hear people are dead or whatever. It may not even be because of the delegates that are going to vote and the aspirant that will be voted for. It could be because of people that may want to hijack that up and want to perpetrate. So it's good at least for security reasons. It's good, but that number is much anyway for them.
There's this thing that is always synonymous with politicians when it comes to convention, like there's a elected Congress or convention. The issue of a dollar reign. Are we likely to see that in this particular election for people to say, vote for my candidate? No, do not vote for this.
Well, I witnessed the World Congress,
Okay.
being the governor of my own world, and nothing of such, took place. People were allowed to freely.
And some of these congresses or world congresses in your own state, talking about Lagos, we've had different factions, about 2 factions of the APC in Lagos at the moment.
Well, at the opening of my remarks when we started talking, I tried to encourage Nigerians, most those that participate in one election or the other, to try and develop this thing we call the spirit of sportsmanship. In every contest, in every competition, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. So if you have lost, congratulate the winner. And if you have won, don't mock the losers. Look for a way and work together. So there are always issues every time. But then, like you mentioned, parallel to the main it will be resolved, and I'm sure it's resolved. The new Lagos State chairman, Mr. Tunde Balogun, has called out. I'm sure after today, we are waiting for this national convention. After today, I'm sure a lot of committees will be formed that will try to bring everybody together. It's normal for people to be agitated. The losers are always crying. So when you're crying, then they try to bring you and pacify you. So it's normal but then, as much as possible, let's begin to develop that thing we call the spirit of sportsmanship. So that after you have lost an election, you work together with the winner. The winner too, you don't.
We have to go, Remy. We have to go now. What's your advice to delegates and to the APC at large?
Well, my advice to like I said now, is if you have lost, you try and develop that spirit of sportsmanship, accept defeat, and work with winners. And if you have won, you don't mock the losers. You try and look for a way to, bring them together. But then the best advice I'm going to give them is for them to take on this responsibility as much as possible with the national interest at hand.
All right.
Overriding personal interest.
Honorable Remy Shittu, Deputy Chairman, Lagos State Councillors Forum, and also the leader of the council, Isolo LCDA. Many thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
I don't know if you permit me to say just this last thing.
Okay.
As a way of advice also to delegates and all that.
Okay.
See, there's this error that people need to separate governance from leadership of the party. Governance in terms of, for instance, a local government chairman being given the opportunity to serve in the capacity of a local government chairman. And you met leaders there, and you want to become the leader and begin to harass the leaders, and because they are currently the chairman of, so let's separate it. there's leadership of the party, which is there, which will continue to be there. They don't have tenure of office. It's death
I can
that
take them
terminates
off. Okay.
the leadership of any party. But then, as an elected officer, you have a tenure to spend. So you don't model up your responsibility of governance with.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program. We'll take a break. Well, from now, you will join us at 4 p.m. where we'll be having more live coverage of the APC National Convention. Until then, I remain Emmanuel Ajayi. Bye for now.